encounter with poetry as an adult, you
Yeah, I know
know?
what you're talking
And by
about.
as an adult, I mean, I was like 19 or something, and I was like, yeah, this is edgy. It's
Yeah, I
performance.
know who you're talking about. It's the what do teachers make?
Taylor, yeah,
Yeah.
what do teachers make? We were like, fuck yeah, because we were all like idealistic and whatever.
I remember that being
It's,
popular when we were in undergrad. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that was
early
like
undergrad.
and that was like when the internet was just starting to become like something that you could make a living off of. Like you could go viral and then like get a job or sell
Yeah, I mean,
books or whatever it is. And it was kind of
I don't think I
before,
even had like Instagram or anything yet at that time. I don't know
yeah.
that I did.
I think Facebook was like the big one. I mean, Facebook is
Yeah.
still the biggest, but yeah, that was just at the time, right before social media took over everything.
Yeah, YouTube was taken off big.
Yeah, and that all started around, like 2007, so around 2010, I think is when
Yeah.
that stuff started going viral, like some of those slam poems.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
that's when it started. Of course, it's easier to look back on it now and be like, "Oh, we had no idea it would lead to kind of what social media is now." But yeah, that was the start, and I was too young to realize, way too young to realize that it was the end.
Well, we were still like young and hip and you know, thought shit was cool.
The beginning
Just
of the end.
like to go outside and stuff.
Like, oh yeah, I'm so glad I got this $2,500 book deal.
I thought I was a good person then. I thought that I might be talented then. Um, yeah. I had an entirely different conception of my identity at the time.
the the confidence of youth.
It's being chased by a very rotund, short redhead.
It's your life story, dude, being chased by like theater kids trying to court you in like really awkward, weird ways.
Yeah,
At
that's
least,
why when I had like a shitty job when I lived in Kentucky and like there was this really like younger than me. She was like, maybe 18, 19. And I remember, and this happened on multiple occasions with different people, but this was the one that really stuck with me because she was like a very good looking girl, like very pretty. And at some point, like she asked to see a picture of my husband because I was talking about him. She said, "Oh, he's really good looking." Like it was, like surprising. I was like, shit. It's like, I guess that's what, I belong with a short, fat theater kid. That's my match.
just what people ascribe to you when they see you.
Yeah, short, fat theater kid. That's what I'm good for.
Well, you're always supposed to
I think.
marry up, dude. So fuck
Mm,
that girl, dude.
yeah.
Fuck that 18-year-old, dude. Fuck them
Nah,
kids, bruh.
I mean, she was actually like a decent person.
Yeah. Still, you can say fuck you to decent people, dude.
I know, I say it to you all the time.
Yeah.
But God, yeah, man. What a time.
Yeah, it's been depressing. Been depressed too, just because yeah. I mean, I need to stay off social media. Like, if I could get rid of that entirely, that would be good.
Yeah, I deactivated Twitter, so I can't even like pretend, you know?
Yeah, my problem is I'm so addicted to it. Even when I do that, I just log back in, kind of thing. Like,
Having a Twitter made it way too easy.
yeah,
'Cause it's not even like I posted shit.
it's just the most addictive form of the softwares that are like make up social media.
Dude, I could stay on Instagram all day.
Instagram's another one, yeah. The endless scroll. I mean, yeah, the addiction.
I know I could stay on Twitter all day too and have, but like haven't done it,
Yeah.
won't do it, can't do it. Makes me into an absolutely insane person.
Dude, I'm completely convinced that it's social media, any form of it, is just poison for your mind.
Dude, it's just mass drug consumption.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
literally basically like an opiate, like opiate den,
It's just
but with
really acceptable.
yeah, and yeah, it's just poison for your mind, and it's a shame that we've
Opium den that we all go hang out in.
yeah, and it's actually a shame that it's kind of in I don't know, it's kind of like taken over the writing world for sure. Partly because the business model itself has imploded, so it's kind of like a
Which part of the world hasn't it taken over?
well that too. It's taken over every part of the world, but yeah,
Or that it's, I mean, even if we don't want to use like, say, taken over, it's taken over the world. I mean, it's just like so injected
right, yeah,
to every part of our lives.
it's everything.
Oh, it's gross.
Literature was just one of the first to fall because it was yeah the business model was already over. Uh,
People don't read.
yeah, people don't read, so it was an easy one to conquer from but people read social media, so it's just morphed into that.
People, a lot of people, people on, um, people on literary Twitter read. And then also people who don't have Twitter.
Yeah, dude, I'm not so sure the people on literary Twitter read. Like, I'm really not so sure
I
about
mean,
that.
they read selectively,
Uh,
but who doesn't
I don't even
really?
think they read select. I mean, they probably do. I'm sure they read something, but it's just, uh, yeah. Well, that's really the problem is that it allows everybody to think that like their opinions matter because because you can just write them online now, kind of thing. It like makes everybody think that they're like some professor or whatever.
Yeah, and then you make it into like an AWP panel.
Oh shit, AWP, dude.
Yeah, I know. I was my my dad brought it up. He was like, "Do you think you should go to like one of those?" Because you know, he's talking to me about being a writer, which is always really fun. And he was like, "Yeah, don't you think like maybe you should, you know, go to that conference?" I was like, "Well, let's see where it is this year." Where is it? In Philadelphia? I think it's like in Philly or something. I
I
was
don't
like,
know.
"Oh, look, we can go to Philly. Let's look at some of the panels." And then I
Oh,
read him like a whole list of panels, and he was just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
yeah.
It's like, "So do you still want to go, Dad?
When we get
Think it sounds fun?"
when we eventually get to interviews, that's something one of the questions I'd like when we have writers on is I'd like to talk to them about AWP, and I'm thinking I may paywall those sections of it just be so we can talk candidly about it, and people won't
Got to.
get mad at them. But people still get mad at them, but just to protect the guests a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
The thing I find
what are they
fascinating,
gonna do? What's AWP gonna do? Not let us pay to go to their conference?
well, it's not like AWP, dude. It's the mob. It's the social media. It's the literati, dude. The literati. The people that this the literature inquisition.
Yeah.
But more so the AWP thing, I want to ask guests that just because it's such a strange phenomenon to me. Like every writer I talk to, every single aspiring writer, established writer, tweets, posts on social media all the time about how much they hate AWP.
You didn't meet anyone in my program.
Yeah,
They
but
were hyped for AWP and they still are. Got an email from them being like, "Who's a nerd and who's going?"
yeah. The thing is that those are not like I just it's just incredible to me that like everybody just doesn't like this conference, but then also like pretends they love it.
Well, what are you doing if you're not going? Are you a writer if you didn't go?
Sure,
You know?
and it's
Or
that's well
what
that's
connections did you miss out on? Are you gonna go to some cool party with a bunch of famous literary figures?
well the thing is with that is that it is very much literary. Like it is not you're not going to have major publishing houses there.
Yeah,
They
you're
don't
also
go.
probably not hanging out with those major literary people if you're just someone who's going, right? Like if you're not with a program that already has like strong connections, like with faculty who have a lot of writer friends who are like, you know. well known. Those are going to be the people that you meet at AWP at some bar, or you might run into whomever at whatever reading. But like, I just like can't get over this feeling of what is really the expectation of that conference? Like, is it to get all of the most, is it like thought leadership, kind of, not leadership, but like just
It's basically just a book fair, man.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but they like sort of identify those sort of separately. There's the book fair, and then there's all of the events.
Yeah, and the events are pretty much just standard conference events. I mean, it's just a conference. There's nothing like inherently terrible or anything about it. But yeah, it is. I'm fascinated because whenever like you said, I guess there are a lot of people that think it's great, but almost everyone I talk to, including established writers, like always dread it and then talk about how much they dislike it and then like go to it every year.
Yeah, I don't know why you put yourself through that unless like you have really good cause. Like if you know you're gonna like meet someone, like if you're planning, you know, if you have an arrangement to like meet somebody who like could get you anywhere in the field, or if you're like meeting up with, friends that you only see once a year at AWP, which I think is probably a lot of the pull for a lot of these other writers. That plus you get a week off of school like, where you get to cancel your classes and say we're going to AWP. That's covered.
Yeah, I'll say this too, like that idea that this conference is there to help writers is false. Like it's
Yeah,
not
that's what I mean.
there to help young writers. It's just a showcase and a book. Yeah, like it's literally just kind of a showcase of the contemporary big names. Few panels that you could find interesting or not, but I mean, I find in my field, the English field, I have a hard time going to conferences anyway, just because the panels are so boring.
It would be
Um,
interesting to see how many like writers get, like some substantial book sales that occur specifically at AWP.
well, only if you're already an established name, or I
That's what I
guess if you're
assume.
a journal, you could probably sell some copies that you wouldn't otherwise. Uh, but I'm always amazed at well, it's kind of the big lie, and this goes into like the writing community too, wherever hashtag writing community, where I still maintain that that doesn't really exist. It's
Well, that's just not a fucking thing. Like, oh, if you're a writer, you're part of this like writing community. Like that's just
well, I
probably
think
a load. I feel like that's probably a load of crap in any field,
yeah, it's a little different.
except for like the top tier, except for like the most elite who like will run in the same circles and will likely end up working together on some projects. I'm speaking broadly, like this doesn't have to be writing.
Yeah, I just mean like you'll meet somebody at AWP, whether that be a representative, whether that be another author, whatever the person claims to be, and they'll
And it'll be
say,
your magical way in.
not even, dude, they'll pretend it is. That's the
Yeah.
thing is that we pretend that they'll be like, "Oh yeah, 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 send me your manuscript." And then you send, and then nothing happened. Like it's not like when somebody says that to you at an AWP conference, they don't actually mean send them your manuscript. Like
Yeah.
they're just being nice. Like they're just pretending
They
that
can mean it.
that's
They just don't actually mean that they'll read it.
which is
Or maybe they
basically
do think they mean that, and then they're always just like, nah.
well, that's
I
the
mean,
thing, yeah.
I'm not saying this like from experience. I'm just saying, like, from anything I've heard and from anything I can see as an outsider, it's like everyone who talks about, the cool things about going to AWP, it's like seeing old friends, going to readings, which is like fine. Occasionally there are good readings, but like often I find readings boring and I would rather just read your poems.
Yeah. Well, readings are boring because usually the people are boring, so like they just read from a piece of paper and we all sit there and fall asleep. I think Sherman Alexie said something about that, and he might have gotten pilloried for it, where he was just like, readings are so boring. He's like, people can go, they can read your book. Like, they know what it's like in the pages. Like, they can read it. If they coming to see you read it, like, give them something. Read it.
Yeah.
Do an animated voice. Like, do something. Like, give a performance because they can just read blandly at home. Like, they don't need to come see you do this. And everyone's like, well, I'm too embarrassed to do that, so I'm too ashamed of somebody judging my work, so Sherman Alexie's wrong. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, dude. Well, that's what I mean. So it's basically just a conference of people doing that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm like, I don't know. I don't want it to like come off as being super bitter or like actually, I am granted, I am having not a great day and have been in a very bitchy mood.
Yeah.
But uh yeah, I just don't, I don't know. I've had too many, any encounter, like, I'm not convinced, like, that even in, a community that I could be part of, quote unquote community that I could be part of for like a couple of years and like not bond with a single one of the supposed mentors. So,
Well, it's because
you know,
mentorship doesn't really exist anymore in this field.
but
Maybe
yeah,
it's
what I
different if
mean
you
is
go,
writers don't really have much interest in lifting you up specifically unless like you're their friend or
well,
and
even
like
that, dude, doesn't matter anymore.
and I don't like that's like whatever like that's common, that's normal, that is just the way the world works in a lot of cases
It,
and that's fine, but it's
let's
just
say,
like why am I gonna pretend that, why am I gonna like spend 100, probably up to like $500+ to get there.
well, this is my theory on it is that that's how mentorship used to be, and it may still work this way. Maybe at some of the top five programs, you may still get some of this. But because the reward for writing is so much less than it used to be, meaning that, even if you didn't get accolades or any type of reward or like a award or something, if you published, but you could probably still get a job somewhere with a book or two under your belt. But now we're at a point where your mentor actually views a student as competition because the resources are so scarce. So these mentors are literally competing with their students to get the prizes, the grants, the awards, like all this kind of stuff, the publications. Like, there is no, oh man, this is a really good book. Let me send this to my agent and see what they think. Like, that doesn't happen anymore outside of, I would imagine, the top five programs, if it even happens there anymore.
Well, yeah, I think also like your mentor has to kind of like you,
Well, that's
right?
always a thing, yeah, but I just mean nobody.
So you can't possibly actually be mentoring everybody, under your supervision if you don't actually like them all. Like you're not giving them equal, and that's fine. Like that's just, again, just gonna be sort of part of fighting it out. But like, yeah, it's this whole, I don't know. I felt this way, like my program where it was like this really sort of bullshit. We're not competing with each other. Like, don't view it that way. We're you know, we're just making sure everybody has like an equal opportunity to do this, whatever the opportunity may be. And it was just like, okay, but like why did I have to apply for it? Why like it was like when we were competing to, you know, teach a creative writing class.
Right.
And it was like you had to submit a syllabus, you know, all this shit. And then it was like the only thing that they based their decision off of was who hasn't had any experience teaching creative writing yet. Well, let's give it to them. It's like, why did I do this work? Like, and it was under, it's this like false idea of like, oh, well, we're all the same and we should all get, the same experience. And it's just like, no, we shouldn't.
Well, not
That's
even.
not real.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's a lie. Like, it's not real. Like, there is no community. Like, I haven't found it.
Yeah.
I went to all the programs. I went to these conferences. Like, no, it doesn't exist, man. It's not a community as much as it's a clique or type thing. And these people are very much,
And you have to be nice.
well, not even, no, you don't have to be nice. You can be mean as shit if you want. It's like, you just have to be in the clique, dude. Like, you just have to be, you know, like I said, it's just a bunch of people that just enforce a bunch of these kind of like made up rules on you and then tell you that, to be in the club, you have to follow these rules. So it's like this kind of, they say it's a writing community, but it's not. Like, it's not. It's a social media hashtag, is all it is. So people can pretend they're part of something while being,
It's
like you
also just
said,
too big to be an actual community. I'm sure there are like, a bunch of smaller ones within that, you know, that like attend AWP like as a group.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I think it's partly is like a marketing thing too. Like AWP sells the fantasy, right? Like it sells the fantasy of being like in this community.
Oh man. Well, you know who's not in that community? Well, I guess he is in that community.
He's dead now.
Dead now.
John O'Hara.
John O'Hara. Butterfield 8.
Oh, Butterfield 8. So, this is episode 13 of Heavy Board. I'm Andrew Whitstadt.
And I'm Sophie Weiner.
Today we're going over John O'Hara's classic novel, Butterfield 8. Butterfield 8.
Yeah, I was intrigued by the title.
It's a good title.
Um, I didn't know why it mattered.
The title?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, I know like the inscription is like it's from an advertisement of the New York Telephone Company, December 8, 1930. Um,
Yeah.
this, yeah, Fran Lebowitz explains it in her introduction.
Fran Leibowiz's introduction.
Yeah.
I did read that since he sent me it. Yeah. After reading the book, though, I'm still not entirely sure how it was really clever to do that. But still, I mean, that's what it is. I guess let's get into the versions. What version did you read? Edition,
Yeah.
copy, print.
I've got the Modern Library Classics edition. Got it for $4 on eBay.
Looks pretty fat. Like it looks like it's a pretty large. No, never mind. It's just the way
No,
you were holding it.
no, it's just because I have dog-eared corners.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Fattens
It
it
looked
up.
like it was like a 500-page book for some reason at the angle you were holding it.
Yeah.
And I was
I was
like,
surprised at how small it was actually, even though you'd said it was short. Um,
it is shorter. I read. What year was that published? Do they have it in there?
2003 Modern Library paperback edition.
Okay, yeah. I have a little weirder version. Not weird, but I have this novel in Library of America kind of reader, right? Like those that are familiar with Library of America, they kind of put together a lot of what I guess, classic texts you could call, like kind of classic books. They'll
Are those
put
the
those
ones with
together.
the black cover and it has
Yeah,
those stripes under?
yeah, the red, white,
Yeah,
and
it's
blue stripe,
yeah, there you go.
and they're honestly pretty affordable hardcover editions if you're trying to get. I like these. I think they're underrated. For spending $25-$30 and getting 4 or 5 novels in a decent hardcover printing is, in my opinion, usually always worth it. So, however people talk about, Library of America kind of stuff, it is a nonprofit publisher. But anyway, I have that version, and I believe that one was published. I think this edition was published in copyrighted 2018, but it has basically his like first 4 novels, or at least his 4 most famous. And they do give you a lot of stuff like notes on the text, like the chronology of their life, like the author's life and all that. So that's always, if you can afford the Library of America editions, I always say buy them because you get, 4 books for the price of one, and they have a lot of kind of authoritative chronology and like about the author's life, publication record, all that kind of shit. So yeah, so my page numbers are gonna be screwed up because there's 4 novels in this thing, and Butterfield 8 is like the second one.
Oh, okay. It's
So
gonna
like,
be weird.
yeah, it starts on page like 211
Okay.
in mine.
Yeah, and my copy is only 228 pages long.
Yeah, I think mine's less than that because they do like in the Library of America stuff. They do like the Bible pages, like the kind
Yeah.
of like very thin, dense text. It's just a cheaper paper, but it works. Butterfield 8. So we covered the books, we covered the editions. Listeners note that the page numbers are going to be a little off between the editions. We'll link both in the description of this. As always, you can pick which one you like. Uh, Sophie's has a nice introduction by Fran Lebowitz, which we'll refer to a little bit. I think this one was edited. It says Stephen Goldleaf was the editor of this one. And apparently he's edited a couple things on John O'Hare. So that's the other thing about the Library of America editions. They do usually get like an expert in the field or in that era or time period to write a pretty comprehensive introduction and edit them together for them. So people will shit on it, but I'm fine with Library of America editions to build out a library when you're short on cash.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
This one says Fran Lebowitz is the author of 2 books of essays, Metropolitan Life and Social Studies, and a children's book, Mr. Chaz and Lisa Sue Meet the Pandas. She is currently at work on a novel entitled Exterior Signs of Wealth and a book-length essay entitled Progress.
Did any of those come out?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to look up.
Yeah. I was gonna say I knew she only wrote a couple books because she claims to have this writer's block or
Yeah.
whatever excuse she's been making for not producing anything for the last 30 years. But yeah, and I don't want that to sound harsh. I'm a fan of Fran Lebowitz. It's just I get irritated when people say, "Oh, why haven't you written anything for 30 years?" Oh, I've had writer's block. Oh, really?
Progress came out in 2003.
Okay.
Exterior Signs of Wealth. It comes up. It doesn't say. Oh. It wasn't coming along as of 2010.
Yeah, well, that book will never come out.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out if it is out at all.
Yeah, dude, it's like the George R. R. Martin thing.
Maybe, like, get book. What happens if I say get book? Hang on. Okay. It might exist. Preview unavailable. Nope, these are, yeah, it's really not clear. I'll have to do further research.
Yeah.
Seems a little uncertain, which is pretty unusual when a book exists.
So Hare started writing at this time, like kind of, 20s, late 20s. He was a short story guy before he was a novelist, so he did he was like well accepted in like the New Yorker type crowds, where I think he'd written over like 480 stories, like short stories in his lifetime. So he had written quite a few by the time he published his first novel, which I read just because I have this book of 4 Appointment in Samara, and that was 1934, I believe. Yeah, and then Butterfield 8 was the novel right after that. I believe it was his second novel overall. It is 1935 that this was originally published. And it was panned, not by critics, but it was like, considered indecent. I don't think it was banned in the United States, but I think it was banned in a couple other countries. Um, but, all that kind of stuff. So I think that might lead to its reputation in some ways. Whenever you have a book that causes some type of controversy, it'll usually ensure you have some type of legacy, I guess. I don't know. But John O'Hare, he's kind of from small town PA. But
Yeah.
he was famous for being a wild drunk and kind of a mean drunk as well, as they all were back then, And then,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, people compare him to like Hemingway, Fitzgerald, all the kind of people that are sort of his contemporaries.
All of which praised his this first novel. Or was this the
I
first?
think it was the second novel,
Oh,
but I
okay.
think
Well, they
both,
praised his
yeah,
first.
I think both got praise.
And
Um,
came out around the same time, I think.
yeah, the first novel came out in 34, and then this one came out in 35. Uh, uh, Honestly, I'd say his first novel was honestly a little bit better than that, but we're talking about the second one, Butterfield 8. So, all right, we got the presses, we got a little background of this. He's long dead. I think he did eventually stop drinking, but I don't know what happened to that. And I guess we'll just start with initial thoughts.
Uh, so I finally understand now how the thing that inspired the novel comes into the novel. It's just in the worst way.
Yeah, wait,
So,
what inspired the novel?
the back of mine, at least, says a bestseller upon its publication in 1935, Butterfield 8 was inspired by a news account of the discovery of a body of a beautiful young woman washed up on a Long Island beach. Was it an accident, a murder, a suicide? The circumstances of her death were never resolved, but O'Hara seized upon the tragedy to imagine the woman's down and out life in New York City in the early 1930s. Um, yeah, so
Initial thoughts. What did you think, Seth?
I expected more intrigue. I am let down.
Let down? Yeah, I'd say the
I
same.
am very bored. I don't like it.
Yeah, I was conflicted too because its reputation kind of makes it seem like it's better than it is. When I was reading it, I was kind of like, "This is the book they keep comparing to Gatsby. Like this is the book that everyone says, oh, it's undersung, it's underpraised, it should be in place of Gatsby or blah." And I just read it and I was like, I don't. I now distrust everybody who's been saying that. I now distrust everyone who told me that like this is better or just as good, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, overall, I'd say I was disappointed too in this novel. And I guess that's not what people want to hear, but that's just how I felt. We're just calling it as it is right here. We read it, we give you what we think. This is. I'd be interested to read some of his short stories, but quite honestly, the last novel in this, like, there's four novels in the one I have. I read all four, except the last one I stopped reading about halfway through because I was just bored to tears. And it's set up so that like it's like all these letters like between, but it's only one way, so it's all this guy's letters to this one friend of his, and they're not. It's not. It's not a good book. It's not. It's not a good book. That one was called Pal Joey. Ironically, I thought his better one when I read through this whole little collection of four novels. His best novel is Hope of Heaven. And that's the one I read right after Butterfield 8. And that's actually the novel that he personally said is his favorite. And I was like, yeah, because he looked at it and was like, oh yeah, this is my best work. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Like, Hope of Heaven is his best novel. I don't know why everybody gets caught up on Butterfield 8. Maybe because of like the kind of flapper era that it kind of captures.
Because it feels like very much like it's a portrait of the Great Depression in New York City.
Right, as it started,
Like,
basically.
yeah, like 19, was it 30 or 31?
I think it was right around there, maybe
Yeah.
29, 30, when everything
Well,
started going south.
29, shit went south. But I mean, like, when does a novel? It's 30 or 31.
I think it's
That,
like 30 into 31 is like the actual timeline of the novel. So it's basically
um,
about like New York socialite life, like in 1930 to 1931, essentially, and it follows a few characters through there. But where do you want to start with this? You want to start themes?
yeah, sure, we can. I mean, we can sort of start at the beginning and see like what the first one that comes up is. I will say, like the first thing that I did think was like, okay, this feels not in terms of, not stylistically really, but in terms of like what is happening and how we're sort of being walked through this person's life. Felt kind of Wharton like to me.
Yeah, and he would have been probably very much inspired by Wharton. Just as Fitzgerald, all these people loved Wharton's work. I mean, how can you not love Wharton's? This is a Wharton pod, so this is a we love the Wharton.
Yeah. Um,
But themes I
but
have, yeah, go.
no, you go.
All right, themes I have: so marriage,
Yeah.
sexuality, particularly sub theme, male versus female,
Yeah.
social dynamics, how that plays into this, because that's pretty much the whole drama of all his novels. Futility of plans, futility of
Luck.
desire, luck, distrusting your desire or indulging it. This kind of like dichotomy between those two. Um, yeah. But right away, I
Yeah.
was. This was like after I read that his first novel, and then I read this one. Like my first note is, yeah, O'Hara has a little clunky in his prose. His prose is a little clunky at
Yeah.
times. Not that it's entirely clunky, but there'll be a couple sentences smashed together where I'm just, this is clunky to read, dude. You were drinking heavily when you were editing that one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there are lines that sound just bad.
Yeah, Sophie pointed out some of the dialogue and things.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't even remember which line that was, but it was just like, why do you even need to say this? Or like places where I was just like, did you need to tell us this right now? Like the part where, I mean, we can get into it later. But there's this part when when Liggett, the guy that our main character is having an affair with, or that he's the one having an affair really, is going to tell his wife about the affair. And like the book announces that he's going to tell his wife that he's having the affair, but he like then proceeds to like show us that later after like a page and a half. And I was like, this could have been, do we need to know it in that way? I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, and some could be stylistic. Although I wouldn't say his style's so bad. It was just like parts that I found clunky. And again, I think that's like his reputation coming in, 100 years later, and like everyone be like, "Oh my God, Rio! Oh my God, he's great!" And then you go back and you're kind of like, "Huh," you know. But yeah, that was my first thing. And we start this whole thing off. We get Gloria Wanderous. I'm sure he thought that name was very clever.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah. But right away we get her as kind of we see that she has a torn cape, and it kind of gives you the impression that something bad happened the night before, but she only vaguely recalls it because she was so hammered, right? And I think this is right prohibition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get alcohol at this time, which everybody was still getting, You had to go through the gangsters, you had to go through the people that dealt in it illegally, brewed in bathtubs, etc. Get into speakeasies with passwords and stuff like that, you know. But right away we get this kind of Gloria, and we get a kind of her inner monologue. She's portrayed right away as kind of like a calculating, um, conniving, but also kind of in love with herself type person. For example,
Yeah, she's awful.
yeah, like lying to the cab driver about where she lives. You get that like in the very first chapter, as she's like trying to impress this this cab driver who she doesn't even know. She's telling the cab driver to drop her off at like a nicer building than the one she actually lives in, all that kind of stuff. And like she does all this manipulation to make it seem like she's not lying. And like Sophie said, we kind of see the events of a drunken night, but we only get some kind of, vaguely foggy remembering what happened type thing as the story unfolds. And then we do learn eventually that it was kind of, well, it's strange because they say it's like it's not quite rape, right?
Yeah, I
But
was gonna
it's,
say they drop a hard
yeah,
R bomb. Well, they drop a couple hard R's in a couple different ways.
yeah.
But yeah,
And that's part of the drama
she
is they
does.
make it,
But that was one of the things that made her also seem. I mean, because I like we can't really read into it either because we only get so much of what happened. But yeah, it's like sort of this complicated, messy thing where like she's detestable and also the guy is detestable, and like you don't really know
and it was like
the full extent.
it was like consensual that turned into to rape type thing. Like they kind of hint at that. So and again, that adds to the drama, right? Like it's complex, so that adds to the drama of like, well, this poor girl, and then this shitty guy, and then you learn that actually she's kind of shitty too. But like,
Yeah, I mean, it starts with this whole. So basically, the thing that happens that like as far as the action is concerned, the like first event that like she's in this apartment. She's like gathering her clothes. So she's like in some dude's apartment. He's not there. She goes to get her dress, and her dress is fully ripped.
yeah,
And then we find out that he had ripped it off of her
right, and
the night
her,
before. The guy had ripped it off of her the night before, and she's all pissed that she doesn't have something to wear. I guess, she doesn't have the appropriate things to put on for day clothes, I guess, and she steals a mink coat from one of the closets in the apartment.
$5,000 coat that you come to find out, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so they keep it a little vague. So you're like, oh, okay, that's like the intriguing moment. You're like, oh, okay, and then, but like it is complicated because they let you see that like she keeps being referred to as somebody who's kind of casually lying all the time, but then like gets away with it because she's incredibly beautiful, right? Like everyone wants her, and she knows it and uses that, and then they, as the story progresses, you learn that like she's known this for a long time, or at least like kind of got shocked into learning this, that like her beauty and stuff like that, like from a very young age. Like there's like the molestation scene, and we'll get to
Yeah.
that.
We will get to that, which makes me think again, there's like that line on the first page that was like talking about her, original despair and the extreme depth of her despair. Um, She recognized, if only vaguely, and then only after conquering her habit of being dishonest with herself, that she had got into the habit of despair. She had come far away from original despair because she had hardened herself into the habit of ignoring the original basic cause of all the despair she could have in her lifetime. There was one cause. So, like, but for years she had hardened herself against thinking of it. I didn't even, like, really, until just now, realize that it was talking about Um, that later scene where like that ends up being the original despair, that someone who was a friend of her family, like, took advantage of her as a kid and really sort of messed her up.
Yeah, the major. Her despair was remorse. In general, the cause of her despair was remorse. Two kinds of it. Remorse because she knew that whatever she was going to do next would not be any good either. The specific cause of these minutes or terrors and loneliness were not always the words or deeds which seemed to be the causes. But yeah, so you
Yeah, I
get
guess
that
it's unclear.
introduction. Well, it's kind of like setting up the kind of story. So this is the mystery behind the story, and you get little hints of it dropped, and then you get like the actual explanation as you go through.
Yeah, I guess I'm not 100% that it's alluding to this later moment. I think it is, but it does go on to sort of say other stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think stuff that's necessarily out of line with that theory.
yeah.
Yeah, and also,
If you're hearing this, it's because you are listening to the free public feed of Heavy Board. To get complete, uncensored, uninterrupted, full access to this podcast, become a subscriber at patreon.com/heavyboard. That's right, Heavy Board is made possible by subscribers like you. For less than 1 cup of coffee per month, you will receive private access to uncensored, full-length episodes, Jerk Shop, heavy bonus content, subscribers-only AMA episodes, bonus extended interviews, and more. Come join the conversation today at patreon.com/heavyboard.
like, identifies her as really self-critical, as like someone who actually really deeply hates herself, and like, you know. So like there is this moment where I guess we still feel like we don't hate Gloria yet, or I don't hate Gloria yet, uh, in this early chapter.
Yeah, she's almost kind of like endearing in this first couple chapters here, where she is kind of like the kind of apathetic party girl.
Yeah, do you feel like you get to know her that well?
Uh, she's definitely reserved. Uh, but the intriguing thing about her, I would say, is that she's like the socialite person that's like very matter of fact. People consider it like immoral. Like that one scene at the end where she like tells that woman's like, "Oh no, tell me what they say. It's all right if it's vulgar." And then she like says it, and then the woman leaves, like just leaves her there because she's offended. So she's like this cool girl in New York. I mean, I was intrigued by that, especially in the
Yeah, of course. I
30s.
was intrigued by that too, and I thought it was like fun and, in places funny also. But in that moment in particular that you just talked about, where she says that thing and the chick walks away and she was like, ugh, gross. Like, I thought you were a lady.
Right,
Uh,
yeah.
I took you for a lady. I was clearly wrong.
Yeah.
I found myself like, I don't know what it was. I just like wasn't believing in these characters. Like, I felt, I don't know why. I don't know if it's like because I was sort of bored and tuned out and like didn't read as carefully as maybe I should have, or if it was just that like that richness isn't quite there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't have like a whole lot stuff about the characters because I don't think we
There
got.
wasn't a whole lot of stuff about them.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, I don't feel like we get a lot of, like, we get her, and I think there's something to be said for, like, okay, like, we get the way she looks at the world. We sort of see her move through her days and how she makes decisions and stuff, but like we don't see that much in terms of like motivation, I guess, or like who she, like what is underneath the sort of top tier, like basic urges
I I will
that she
say
follows.
I will say, and this might be either a great literary device for drama or whatever, but you do start to I don't know if this is how it's written or if it was just me reading this, one time for this, my first time reading it. You do start to lose sympathy for it. Like there's like an arc where like you kind of
Yeah.
meet her and you're like, okay, this girl's kind of a bad girl, kind of cool. She lies a lot, but I'm down with that. Like this is a novel, right? Let's see these seedy characters. Then you get that sympathy when they start giving the backstory where you're like, okay, this girl was attacked. She was, molested as a child. But then you start to lose that sympathy that you gained for her through the backstory. Cause like, towards the end she does, and I think that's why I brought up that theme of just like the kind of futility of desire, and how that keeps becoming kind of a theme, or even being like trapped by your desire.
Yeah. It's like constant desire versus marriage is like always there. I mean, it's not always versus marriage, but that those two um, play side by side a lot.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. I mean, at the time, so keep in mind the time period. Like I think a lot of his books were considered immoral by the standards of the world at that time. So the fact that he was writing about this kind of um, you know flippant woman character, and like her having multiple abortions and stuff, like everybody was clutching their pearls and saying he was a monster for writing it, right? I mean, then we still do that today. We just do it for like now people clutch their pearls about something else and say, oh my god, it's immoral, it's immoral to
Yeah,
have
it's
this
always been
murder
the same.
scene. Yeah. All right. I didn't have a whole lot of notes on this, I'll be honest. Like,
A lot of my notes actually in the book after a certain point. God, when does it happen for me? There's a moment where I just like start writing like bitch at the bottom of the page, and that's my one note. I was like, oh man, you're a bitch.
yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff about like gender roles too, like but it also feels a lot of like there are a lot of moments where it's about like is what it's expected that women know versus it's sort of expected that they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you where you want to go?
I mean, my notes, I didn't have like, because the first couple of chapters we are kind of not given a whole lot except like the kind of setting up the different characters that are going to go through.
No, and some of them don't like just barely matter, right? Like we spend a whole fucking chapter with this Isabel and Jimmy Malloy, and between them, Jimmy Malloy comes back like as a really, really incredibly minor character that is basically not there for a vast majority of the book, and then comes back at the very, very end. And I think they said that that's who would be like O'Hara's stand-in. That
Yeah.
would be the closest to a representation of himself in the novel, is this Jimmy Malloy character who's a writer. He's a journalist. He writes for what, the Post?
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that comes up in a couple of his novels. That's like his alter ego, that guy Malloy. And
Yeah.
that's like one of the main characters in what I would call his best novel, which is Hope of Heaven. So he has like kind of reoccurring things, at least with that character, because that's like what like basically he's admitted this in interviews. He's admitted this all the time that like, yeah, Malloy is basically me in book form,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
and he just
Well, I
pops
didn't
in
see any of
there.
that.
Yeah,
But yeah, we get that whole thing with Malloy and Isabel, and they actually see Gloria. They don't know it's Gloria at the time, but they, at the end of that first chapter with Gloria, we have her, she had gotten into a cab, and the cab driver almost hits someone, or someone almost hits the cab driver, and he yells something like spit in their eye, and she goes, yeah, spit in their eye.
yeah,
And in the next chapter we see that Jimmy Malloy and Isabel see that, and they're like, what the fuck is this? Who's this bitch? What is she doing? God,
yeah.
how embarrassing to be wearing a mink coat. So we already also get the sense that like she is actually like probably judged about as harshly as she
Could be.
expects,
Yeah.
that, what she seems to fear. So we get that. Isabel never comes back. We don't care. She doesn't matter.
Very Gloria. Yeah. No, I was thinking this in my field. It's in my version. It's page 267. But let me get a chapter. I tried to write chapters down because I was like, okay, chapter 3.
Good.
And this is when she's like having the drink with Leggett, and he's kind of like, let's have dinner together. Like I can't stop thinking
You
about
call
you.
him Leggett? I call him Liggett.
Leggett. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe it is.
it's spelled
Hey, man, you
Liggett.
call him Leggett. I'll call him Liggett. Listeners, you decide. I say Liggett.
But right there on mine, there's that scene where he's asking about they're having the drinks, and she's like, Leggett says, "Yes, it must happen again. It's got to. Listen, I don't know how to begin." And then she says, "Then don't. If it's a proposition, because if it's a proposition, I'm not interested." She knew she was lying, for she was interested in almost any proposition, interested in hearing it at least.
So it's chapter 3. Hang on. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, okay. I always forget. We switch between different characters. Oh, okay. That's where we get Liggett for the first time.
Maybe we should we call it like a French pronunciation, do Leger or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck.
Leger. I
Leger.
refuse to call him Leger.
Winston Leger.
Weston.
Weston. Oof.
Weston.
Dude, and in all his things, like his themes, where he's always talking about like Yale boys and like,
Oh my God, there's so much of Yale boys and
yeah,
occasionally Stanford boys, but
yeah,
mostly Yale boys.
yeah. Well, he is a PA guy and all that. So,
Yeah, he's a Yale boy.
yeah. Was he a Yale boy?
I have no fucking
I think he
idea.
went to like a state school. Like I think he like
Probably.
didn't go to like a
But
Ivy.
there's lots of talk of Yale boys.
Yeah, and if you're in the
Lots of,
country club scene, I mean, you're going to be talking about Ivy League schools. So
yeah. There are a lot of references to who went to what school, and sometimes it's just like it just refers to, will refer to like the town of a school, but won't refer to the school.
and it was like a big thing at the time. I mean, it's still a thing today, right? Like, what school you went to is a currency. What school you went to is
Yeah, of
something.
course. Always.
So, like, I'm thinking, like, like how in Gatsby, one of the storylines is, he's lying about going to Oxford, right? Like, he lied about being an Oxford man. Like, he constantly lies about it. That's one of the plot points, or one of the drama things that you find out about as you read through Gatsby in this kind of like era of novel. But yeah.
Yeah, so she's a little manipulative here. She knows like she is kind of interested in this proposition. It is weird that this is where we start with her and Liggett, and it seems like here, like she's not seriously interested in him.
Yeah, I think she makes it clear that she isn't, and that maybe that's part of the epiphany in the plot. Like as you go through, is that she does become like, well, maybe I am interested in him.
Yeah, which is weird. And like this is
Very.
like some older married man too, and
Yeah,
it's like we're said over and over again, like he's old enough. She's only a little bit older than his oldest daughter. Which do we learn her age before the very end? Like before we get to that very end moment.
I think they refer to her as 22.
At the end, the they call her 18-year-old, an 18-year-old.
Right, in the news report, but I think it
Yeah.
said that she's like 21, 22.
Yeah, that would make more sense. She doesn't feel 18. We don't get like a lot either about, like what she looks like on a regular basis. Like we get the shape of her body
Right.
and that men like it. And that she seems to carry herself with a certain confidence in that regard.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you kind of get hinted at that, yeah, she's one of the people like a lot of the flapper girls where they were able to use that to their advantage.
yeah, shut that dog up.
Sorry, my dog keeps hearing neighbors and they always fucking go ape shit. Yeah, these fucking flappers, dude. I don't know. I mean, I was kind of like you, where like this book I found dull. Like, I mean, it always takes me a little bit longer to read things that we're gonna do, like, kind of an episode on. So, if one thing to read a 200-page book in, like, a couple days or an afternoon, if you're not taking notes and like going back and be like, wait a minute. But to do like this vigorous read that we, at least, as vigorous as we get here, to just take notes and, highlight passages. I mean, it takes me like 4 or 5 days. If it's book, that's if the book's 200 pages.
Yeah.
So like if it's like a 400 or 500 page, it's going to take me like 2 weeks, like, to give it a good read for this. And I did it, but yeah, I know what you were saying. As soon as you texted me about this, kind of like, I'm a little bored. Am I allowed to, like, are we allowed to say that this is a little boring? On this podcast we are, but not at AWP, dude. Not at AWP. At AWP, you gotta say you love Butterfield 8, dude. You love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I wanted to like be interested in one of these characters, and I just like, I wasn't sure I believed in them.
Well, it is strange because I'd argue we do get the most depth with Gloria.
Yeah, sure.
We get the most depth of her character, and like Leggett is kind of like,
We get it from him too. I mean, I think we get the most honesty, at least in terms of like, I mean, those are the two that the book sort of switches between the most in terms of point of view. There are a bunch of others that we sort of get up front where it switches between POV a lot. And we meet like a bunch of people pretty quickly, and you're not really sure yet who's important, with the exception of Gloria and Liggett. I felt like I got a good sense of his motivations as like, a husband who's cheating on his wife, how, their relationship has sort of deteriorated a bit. And Gloria stays the most closed off in terms of like who she actually is inside. Like what, or the experiences that made her who she is.
yeah,
Or played a role in making her who she is. And I feel like we don't get a lot of that through her sort of moments of her thought, her in thought, I guess. We get plenty of that, but we don't get a lot of, I don't know, just her thinking through like, oh, what am I gonna do? Or we'll get, let me see if I can find one.
you looking for a passage for Gloria characterization?
Yeah.
I'm open to one now. On page 286 on my version. Sorry, let me get a chapter. I think it's chapter 4. Yeah, it's chapter 4. A little bit through there, kind of one of the breaks after thus began the friendship of Gloria and Eddie, where we get that how she met her like best friend Eddie a couple, like 2 years ago, before the events of this book started. And the paragraph right after that is, it would be easy enough to say any one of a lot of things about Gloria, and many things were said. It could be said that she was a person who, in various ways, some of them peculiar, had the ability to help other people, but lacked the ability to help herself. Someone could write a novel about Gloria without ever going very far from that thesis.
Yeah.
It's not super in-depth characterization.
It's not, well, it's not even about like the characterization of her from the outside. Like, I want to see her from the inside, because we get so much from her point of view, but not a lot of like what I assume are the complexities under the surface.
Yeah.
We don't like we get this like really like constant struggle, down and out story. She's always like, going to someone else's house, and we learn that, she eventually goes to see her family that I guess she, lives with. quote unquote lives with, but like never goes home because she's staying with whoever else, and she's just sort of doing that. Like we get all this shit about like, like the first thing that she's doing is like she just like sleeping with a dude who is like really old for her, who like had brought her to his like family home to sleep with her, which was like a big no-no.
Yeah. Especially in
Um,
New York, right? Because if you're in New York, you're living in an apartment and like you have doormen, elevator people, like receptionists, the phone line people that were in buildings at the time in the 1930s because you couldn't connect phone lines without calling the operator in the building. Like, so a lot of people that could see it, a lot of witnesses if you were going to have an affair. So it's like, why bring it to your house type thing.
yeah, so we get like, okay, this is later. It's probably in, okay, this is maybe chapter 8. Gloria thought a long time about how uncontagious love was. According to the book, she ought to be wanting to telephone Liggett. And she did not want to telephone Liggett in a way, but talking to Anne, this is like her friend from school that she meets up with and learns that like she's like, oh, everyone thinks Anne's a lesbian because I don't know, she doesn't like hang out with dudes or whatever. But she talks to Anne. Anne's getting married. She wants Gloria to come visit. And then she just feels like all bummed. Um,
When
and
she
she
has
thought a
her
long
kind of
time about
epiphany.
how, yeah, she thought a long time about how uncontagious love was. According to the book, she ought to be wanting to telephone Liggett, and She did want to telephone Liggett in a way, but talking to Anne, virginal Anne, with her one man and her happiness and innocence and her awkward love affair, she was sure Bill Henderson wore glasses and had to take them off and put them in a metal case before necking Anne. It all made her angry with love, which struck in the strangest places. It didn't seem to be any part of her own experience with love, and it depressed her. Um, I mean, this is like, we get this whole passage, and this feels like the most intimate look at how Gloria actually like thinks and feels and looks at the world. Like it's one of those moments where we get that. Maybe there are more here than I'm actually like giving this book credit for, and I'm just like I was just bored.
And in that section that Sophie's pointing out in chapter 8 is kind of where Gloria has what you could call an epiphany, where she's kind of like decided that she wanted to basically emulate her mother and be a good wife, or I guess fall into the cliche as she realizes that she's starting to be a little bit miserable with her current circumstances. Where she's, for me, it's page 383. It's kind of like the first couple pages of chapter 8, where she's talking about her mother. A couple paragraphs in, it said, "It showed too. It showed in her mother's face. It worried Gloria a little to come around again to a theory she sometimes had that a woman ought to have one man and quit. It made for a complete life no matter how short a time it lasted. Gloria resolved to be a better girl, and after a long but not unpleasant time, she fell asleep, preferring her own face, but thinking well of her mother's." It's,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all there, you
well,
know.
that's just like, that's the change in character. Whereas before that, she's kind of like party girl, and then she's like, well, you know what? Maybe my friend that everybody thought was a lesbian is actually has the right idea because that's what my mother did.
Yeah, after that, I don't know. The rest of the book, she seems kind of like bitchy and bitter. I mean, she does seem that way, I think, for a lot of the book after, I don't know, her and Liggett have this fight.
You talking about at the end or before that when she's like
Before
ignoring him?
that, when they're in that bar, that was the scene that the first scene where I was like, God, shut the fuck up, dude.
Which one is that?
When her and Liggett go to a speakeasy and they get into a fight,
Is that
in
chapter?
part over this wine pour. I'm gonna guess it's chapter 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
chapter 5. I had a few things to say about chapter
This was a
5.
long fucking chapter and the one where I marked the most pages. So we're sort of going in reverse order here.
And chapter
We're just
5 starts with a very long paragraph that I said was all filler.
was all what?
Filler.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I was just like, "Oh my God, I'm so fucking bored. What is happening
And
here?
it
Like
could have
why?"
started at that next paragraph where it just said Monday afternoon Emily Leggett and her daughters came home by train. That's all it needed to do because the
Yeah, it
first
just gives us a rundown of all of this stuff. An unidentified man jumped in front of
yeah.
a New Lots Express on the 14th Street subway station. Mr. Hoover was on time for the usual meeting of his cabinet. You know, like it's just this long list.
Of like news
And
headlines.
yeah. And it is so deeply boring. And I get that it's just like, we're getting, I don't know, a view of the era of the moment of like,
Yeah.
this is what's happening in New York City.
Yeah. And the chapter before this too is where we kind of get that her flashbacks to when she was a child
Hmm.
and the kind of the kiss that ruined her.
Yeah.
Um, I was yeah. So you get that, and then you kind of get her like what she did in her high school years, right? She's depicted as like sniffing ether and like doing sex stuff with like the boys, particularly like with an older man in high school, older men in high school. And I think it honestly does make her like the most interesting character out of all the characters in this book.
I mean, it only makes her interesting because she's the one most talked about and the one we have the most insight to. I think, like, if this, like, dude, Wolf or Wharton could give us a great look into Emily Liggett's life. Or, like, Ruth Liggett as, like, a girl coming up during the Depression who's not going to have, the big coming out party because, everyone's in the shit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for this, we've said it this whole time, dude. Like, my notes were pretty sporadic. Like, I was taking
Yeah, so were
notes
mine.
like every 20, 30, 50 pages because I was just go through a lot of
Mine
heaps.
My notes on this one was just, the wine pour. Like I started just doing that at the top of the page, like, oh, this is the wine pour moment.
I don't even
And then
remember
I
the
was
wine
like,
pour.
there's one where at the top of the page I just have Jews, Italians, and religion. You don't remember the wine pour?
No, but I do. I
Um,
do. I remember reading his first book when I was reading his four of his novels this past 2 weeks. It was like I didn't realize that how much like Catholics were discriminated against, partly because I wasn't alive then, and then partly because I grew up in an area that was very Catholic. Sophie and I both did, and then it was like, but yeah, I mean, of course they were, right? Like I forget that like everybody was like it was a big deal that JFK was like Catholic when he got elected,
yeah.
right? In like 1960 or whatever, because Catholics were like because Catholics were considered like bad or I don't know.
Oh
And
God,
I
this
think that
isn't.
has to do with the Irish, right? Because a lot of the
Yeah.
Irish were Catholics, and then I guess a lot of the Italians and all those that came over. And anybody that knows a little bit about American history, that like the discrimination that was rampant, particularly in the 30s, in a place like New York with a lot of immigrant sections in the city. There was a lot of discrimination, not just based on like what we the big one race and all that kind of stuff, but since this is really not like a book that deals with race. It deals with like
It. I mean, it does later. Not
a little
well.
bit, yeah,
And like,
but
we get some of that. And that's when
it's
where you're really like,
right.
dude, you're just being a cunt.
Oh, about the
uh,
maid, the
yeah. I mean,
housekeeper.
there are multiple
Right.
encounters there.
Well,
But
I mean, he shows the race. Yeah, I mean, he shows the real racism that was happening. But I just mean that's that the racism is a smaller part because this is mostly country club class
yeah,
book in the 30s. So it's like
you don't see a lot of it in
right. So
this.
you see more
It
about like
doesn't. Yeah,
who's Jewish, who's Italian, who's
yeah.
Catholic. They're not allowed to join the country
Different
club. Like
whites.
yeah, they're not allowed to join the country club if you're Italian or Jewish or
Yeah. Yeah, but no, the wine pour. Okay, so I get this mixed up. I keep getting the fights mixed up. So this incident was with Eddie, not Liggett. Um, and is this the moment when she's like, where there's like a love moment between them,
between Eddie and Gloria.
or almost?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
When he's talking about Norma, his like girlfriend.
yeah, well, they like allude to this, and there's a moment, I don't remember where is it? Is it before this moment or after that she's, you know, that they have this conversation? Oh, I think it's sooner, where she's like basically asking if he loves her. And he's like, sure, I love you.
When they're talking about Liggett or Leggett or
Well, at first, what she's like, it's like they were going to sleep together and then they don't.
with Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, page 325. That's chapter 5, right? He
Is it?
says, I've asked you to sleep with me. Yes, sleep with you, good Samaritan. When I'm tight and you think I'll get the devil if I go home drunk. You'll ask me if I'll sleep in your apartment. Why? That's the worst. Why? That's the most insulting thing you can do in a way. It proves how you feel about me. You're above my sex appeal. You could sleep with me and not feel a thing. And then Eddie's like, good Lord. Yes, good Lord. I'm no good. I'm not fit to touch. You'd be contaminated if you touched me. That's the way you feel about me, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. And then like the tone changes and it's like, it's all right with you now, isn't it? You'll be all right if I get up now, won't you? I mean, like, and get dressed. Will you be all right? Like, she's harmed him now because she doesn't want to sleep with him.
Right.
Um, and says, because I
Oh,
know about men when they get excited and nothing happens. I wouldn't do that either. If it's just a question of, oh, I don't know. I don't know how to talk to you now, Eddie. If you're going to be uncomfortable the rest of the day because we started something and didn't finish it, let's finish it. And he's like, what? No.
yeah.
And then later she says, I'm a real bitch, Eddie. Do you know why? And he goes, why? And she says, because I know what's right, but I'm so strongly tempted. You've never seen me without any clothes on, have you? And I was like, shut up, dude. Like, I don't know why I was so annoyed with her in that moment. That was like the first moment where I was like, oh God, I'm so sick of this bitch. You haven't even seen me without any clothes on, have you?
Yeah, and that's when it comes. And you're talking about the wine pouring when she's yelling at the waiter.
Yeah, and then so they, yeah, is that after?
That's an insult. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She asked if you're talking too loud.
Yeah, I accidentally got into, yeah,
I think it's the
the,
same Steen.
yeah, the note on the, yeah, I accidentally flipped too far. The note on this page is just Gloria's a bitch.
Where she's yelling at the waiter about wine pouring.
Yeah. Um, it's all just so frustrating.
It's very much of this elite kind of like the higher class kind of thing because when she says to the waiter that it's an insult the way he poured the wine and then the waiter's explaining the process, right? Like those that don't know, when you're pouring wine at like a nice place and you've ordered a bottle, you've probably seen it at places where they present the bottle to you, they open it, and then they'll pour a little taste into usually whoever ordered the wine. usually. Although back in this day it was probably sexist, so they would just pour it for the men first to taste.
Or
And
I was under the impression that it was like it had something to do with the way it was bottled or how old it was, because some of it was made like in-house or like it wasn't,
that's what the
you know.
waiter says, yeah, because that's why he says they're not. So that usually is the way you would pour wine at a restaurant. Like there is like a etiquette, but at this restaurant where they're serving wine during Prohibition, right?
Yeah.
Where she's like, "That's an insult," and then the waiter says, "Miss, that's an insult. Didn't you see what he did? You know you're supposed to pour it in his glass first." "I'll take your glass," said Eddie. "That's not the idea. He's supposed to pour some in your glass first, and then fill mine, and then fill yours. You know that, so why shouldn't he know it? This wine is just bottled, miss. It is only when the wine has been in the bottle a long time. You don't have to tell me about wine. I know more about wine than you do. Yes, miss, this is homemade wine, and it is only bottled this evening. I didn't ask you the history of it. I won't drink it. I want a highball." "Give her a highball, Ryan soda," said Eddie. "Humor her," said Gloria. "Let her have her own way." "Well, I don't want a highball. I want another bottle of wine, and you pour it the right way, whether it was bottled in 1926 or 5 minutes ago. I've never been so insulted in all my life." And that's when Eddie's like, "Are you drunk by any chance?"
Yeah, and this is before they have that moment where she's like, I don't know, do you want to fuck? Actually, I don't
Yeah.
want to. It's
Because
not
she's
fun.
talking about Leggett and shit, and he's like, "Well, are you in love with Leggett?" And she's like, "Oh, I think so. I don't know. Does he know it? No. Really in love with him? I am, yes. He isn't. I know what he thinks. He thinks, well, just a pushover. First night I go out with him, I go to bed with him. Even worse than that, he picked me up in a speakeasy."
Yeah. And he says, well, being picked up in a speakeasy is better than being picked up in Grand Central Station. She goes, why did you say that? Answer me. Why did you say that?
And that too, so I guess it's supposed to be like we're supposed to see like that's what I mean. It is conflicting, right? So you have sympathy for the Gloria character, and then it starts to
I didn't
slowly.
in this moment.
Well, this is where it starts to slowly disappear. So the chapter before this is when we get okay. She was kissed by that older guy and like forced to sit on his lap when she was like 12 or 13, and then he disappears, ashamed, and then like that ruined her, and now she's like sniffing ether and messing with older men in high school, and we're like, oh my god, this poor girl, she's kind of a victim of this stuff. And then we start to get these things that make us be like, she's kind of losing sympathy for us. And the wine incident with how she kind of treats her friend Eddie, who is probably the opposite of every man that shows interest in her. Like he's like actually considered good, right? Like he's considered
Yeah.
like a good person and like tries to help her, and he doesn't want to take advantage of her. And
Just wants to
she
like help
starts
her.
yeah, and she starts being mean as shit to him. And this wine scene is like the first big one, which is why Sophie had it stood out. Is like, she was being an asshole to the waiter. Most people are kind of off put when anybody's mean to wait staff, right? Like when you're just at a table and somebody's mean or flippant with the wait staff, most people, even today, they're just kind of be like, oh, well, why are you being an asshole to the waiter? Like, but I
Oh,
imagine
and she
during
also,
Prohibition with the wine, when she's like, "You didn't pour this wine you made in your bathtub correctly. Like, you didn't pour this wine right. What an insult!" And it's kind of meant
more,
to impose that she's having a breakdown, right?
she like, oh, I think she, like, even before this moment, and she's like, you know, asking, Eddie says, am I supposed to infer your sour grapes because I like Norma better than you? And like, Norma's the girl that he's like seeing,
Right.
right? Um,
Who he eventually decides to marry.
um, yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember what they're talking about. Oh, because, okay, so Norma had come over to Eddie's house to deliver clothes to Gloria that she could wear instead of the mink coat. And Gloria's all like, well, what does she think? Like, who does she think I am? Like, does she think that, we're sleeping together? Like, what did you tell her? Did you tell her that we were like, what does she think? Does she think we're having an affair?
Right.
And he was like, I told her we weren't having an affair.
If you're hearing this, it's because you are listening to the free public feed of Heavy Board. To get complete, uncensored, uninterrupted, full access to this podcast, become a subscriber at patreon.com/heavyboard. That's right, Heavy Board is made possible by subscribers like you. For less than 1 cup of coffee per month, you will receive private access to uncensored, full-length episodes, Jerk Shop, heavy bonus content, subscribers-only AMA episodes, bonus extended interviews, and more. Come join the conversation today at patreon.com/heavyboard.
And she just like keeps pressing him on like, did you say it first? Did she ask you? How did you happen to tell her? I don't know, said Eddie, and reflected. It was when I first knew her. She asked me if I was in love with anybody, and I said no. And she said, what about the girl someone named Gloria that someone said I saw all the time? Someone told her I was seeing you, but all she knew was your first name. So I said you were a platonic friend, and that's all. Is it? So like this is where it turns into like you don't love me, like you're not interested in me. And then we get some more, and then he was like, am I supposed to understand that you're like all pissed off because I like my girlfriend more than I like you?
Right.
And then he's like, that's not even necessarily true, like I don't necessarily like her more than you. And then she just starts going fucking crazy. And she goes, you hate me, Eddie Brunner. You can't stand the sight of me. You're so damn superior, you. And he goes, oh, stop. Why should I stop? Because I'm talking too loud? I'm embarrassing you by talking too loud? That's it, isn't it? I mean, like, you are talking above a whisper.
That's what she calls over the waiter.
Yeah. And the waiter's like, no, we're fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the waiter comes over and he's just like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And he like makes eyes with Eddie like, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm fixing it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the wine pour happens and it's just like, ugh. And then they don't even stay for wine. Her drink order changes a couple of times. Then they don't even get wine. They don't get any highballs. They don't do shit.
God, I'm getting bored just talking about it.
Yeah, and then we get Dr. Reddington. What the fuck is up with Dr. Reddington? Is this the guy?
Dude,
Okay.
I'd forgotten about Dr. Reddington entirely.
Dude, who the fuck is Dr. Reddington? I forgot about him too. But he comes... Like, I kept conflating him with the guy who abuses her as a child.
I thought that was Major Bohm.
Yeah, it is.
And then Dr. Reddington is...
But in this passage, it's like they went home and she told him about Dr. Reddington. She spent the night there because she was afraid, and Eddie went to sleep in a chair, watching her while pretending to read. He became exhausted by the first experience of the desire to kill a man.
Yeah. That was a good line. I underlined that line.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Reddington the abortion doctor?
Oh, maybe.
Which might be sense that, like, he was just referred to in passing a few times.
Yeah, didn't... Okay, well, it seems not uncommon that other people seem to also have this question. Other people also started getting bored around chapter 5.
Where are you seeing this? What are you looking at?
Yeah, just some blog.
Blog? Is it Goodreads or is it just some random...
No, it's called AMA Book Club.
Huh, I don't even know what that is.
Neither fucking do I. It's just the first thing that came up when I typed in Dr. Reddingfield, Butterfield 8.
Is it popular?
No.
Not a lot of hits.
Not a lot of hits, man. Not that I can tell.
All right. Do you want to move on to the ending?
Yeah. Let's talk about the ending.
Because I had a note about chapter 5 with, about that kind of filler starting, and then, like, I didn't start taking notes again until, like, page 383 in, like, chapter 8 and 9. So, chapter 8, we talked about where she kind of has her epiphany and, like, decides that she might actually marry Leggett and thinks that, maybe it's not such a bad idea. It made my mother happy. And then we get the chapter 9, which is the death.
The death.
The death, like the thing happening. So Gloria's on this boat, this river boat, and Leggett is kind of following her because he wants to talk to her, but he knows she won't talk to him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they have a little conversation, and it's honestly, I would say that conversation between them is quite beautiful. Like, it's a little bit kind of Wharton like in that sense of like talking to each other about how they love each other, but there's also like they both feel this kind of apprehension. Although by that time, Leggett, it's kind of made clear he doesn't feel apprehension. He's like obsessed with her and
But
is
he does
willing.
feel some apprehension because he just like blocks it out, right? Like
Right?
every time
Yeah.
he like he has these moments where he's like, "Oh, but like my daughter, like I was just getting to a point in my life where I had been thinking about like being the father of like a teenager and bonding and all that shit." So there is like some of that, and I feel like you can tell it's under the surface, and he's just like sort of he keeps going back and forth and second guessing himself, but now that he's like sort of committed to this thing and he's are we is this before this is this after they he has a fight?
With his wife.
um he gets beat up.
Oh, right, because she kind of leaves him at the restaurant or the speakeasy, and then they beat him up because they think she claims that he's like harassing her or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then he gets like kind of mad and they have a little falling out. But then he follows her on that boat, man. They follow her on that river boat. They have their little meetup.
Yeah, my point was just that they'd gotten into this fight. He told his wife about her,
Right.
and then um like I think that happened earlier.
It happened the chapter before.
Yeah. So they like he gets into this fight because she's like storming out of the speakeasy, um, or this restaurant or whatever. He wants to leave, or she wants to leave. I don't even remember what they fought about. Yeah, but they get in that fight. He gets beat up, and then shows up to his house when he's supposed to be having a dinner party of some kind or something.
Oh,
He's
right,
supposed to
right,
have
right.
company. And instead of doing that because he's all beat up, they send the company away and he makes up some story.
Well, they were going to
And
go to
then
the
he tells us,
theater. Yeah, they were
yeah,
going to the theater with
then
that Nancy and what's her face? And what's his face? Her husband.
the Farleys.
Farley's, yeah. And Nancy
And
was nice. I like the Nancy character, but she only appears for like 2 pages.
yeah, um,
I think that is chapter 8, isn't it? Or chapter 7.
I think it might be chapter 7. Yeah, it's over the coat. You won't gain anything by keeping the coat, except the coat. Not even the coat. They'll take it away from you. So he's trying to convince her that he needs the coat to, like, ease tension with his wife or whatever so that she doesn't find out.
Yeah.
Um, and then she's like, nope, I'm gonna leave. And he was like, oh, no, you're not. Like, sit down. I'll go, like, he said, listen, you little bitch, I'll go to jail before I let you get away with this. He reached for her hand, but she ran out to the bar room. And that's when they get into this thing. And she's like, let me out. And he's like, don't let her out.
And then the cop comes in and is like, "Why are you harassing this beautiful woman?" And they start beating
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And then they beat him up. Yeah. And he tells his wife about his affair. She seems like and that was another thing I hated about his character too, because we get this whole like, I have to tell you, I need you to listen. I can't live with you not knowing the truth. I can't live with myself. And it's like, she's like, I know you're having an affair. Like, I'm sure you are. I don't care. Like, I don't want to hear this right now. And
Right.
he's like, no, no, you have to listen to me. And that's like his attitude with his wife through this whole thing, like in multiple places of just like, no, well, I feel terrible because I'm a I had a moment of being a bad husband, except actually he's like clearly been a shitty husband for many years now. Um, and she's just trying to be like, listen, I know you suck. I don't want to hear your shit. And he insists that he must tell his shit, and that somehow makes him virtuous, um, because he's no longer lying.
Yeah, there's that. I always give my students that essay, "The Insufficiency of Honesty." They they use that as an example in that essay.
Yeah, it's awful. Um, so they have that moment. He's like, listen, you have grounds for divorce if you want them. Like, go ahead. Like, I'll, you know. And it's clear that he's like giving that to her as an option because he's kind of hoping she'll take it. And it doesn't seem clear that she's going to take it at all.
Right, and this was a sexist time, like very much more sexist. Like, so it was like if you were a divorced woman while things were starting to change, it still wasn't like it was in like the
Yeah,
70s, like
it probably sucked a whole lot and meant
yeah,
a lot of shit for your like social
right,
circles.
like excommunication from social
Especially
circles.
if you like, are one of the sort of elite, even though we are talking depression.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's where they stand. It's in no way clear that they are definitely getting a divorce, but then, Liggett tells Gloria that they are basically already divorced.
All right. I want to talk about the death scene.
Yeah. So, because he follows her to
It's like a riverboat upriver.
yeah,
I guess from like New York to Connecticut or something.
yeah.
Uh, and at first, I mean, I guess she dies. So she dies by falling off the boat and getting caught in like the wheel, like kind of like the motor well.
Yeah.
So she gets
It ha
like mangled and chopped up. But it's like, what did you think of this? I want to know, what did you think of the ending here with
I was
this?
like, what the fuck is this scene? I'm so confused about like what is happening in this moment, right? Because they're in like another sort of tiff again because he has presented himself, he made himself known, he's here, and they, you know, say that they're in love and they want to be married and blah blah blah, and they go to his room and Gloria kind of looks around and she goes, ugh, we can't fuck in here. Gross. So, she's sort of like, you know what, I'm not doing this. And he's like clearly pissed about it. And
Yeah.
we know he's going to be pissed about it because he said, like, if one thing's for certain, the one thing I need tonight is to fuck this woman. I mean, he says it in different words, but it's clear that that's like what he's saying. And
Many such cases, dude.
yeah. Um, And so like she's sort of like, I'm going up to the deck. They can't be here. We can't do this. Um, she goes up to the deck and he's like, all right, like, I guess I'll go find her. Goes to look for her on the top deck where it said no passengers are allowed to be after dark or whatever. Right. So instantly, some shit's about to happen. Right.
Yeah, let me
Um,
read the scene here. This is the scene when he's going up to find her, and he says, "This is the very last two paragraphs in chapter 9. In my book, it's page 418. But at
yeah.
yeah, at the top of the steps, he could see only the outline of the wheelhouse, and the city of Essex single stack and some ventilators. There was one short string of light on the shore, and it was all dark otherwise. Then he saw Gloria. He guessed it was Gloria, sitting on the dining saloon roof, sorry. She turned at that moment and saw him, her eyes having become better accustomed to the darkness. She got up and ran forward. Then she stopped and looked around. "Oh, all right," he called, and turned and started down the stairway. Halfway down he heard a scream, or thought he heard a scream. He ran down the few remaining steps, and this time he knew he heard a scream. He looked down at the water just in time to see Gloria getting sucked in by the side wheel. Then the boat stopped. "There was nothing I could do," said Leggett to nobody.
Yeah, I was having trouble envisioning what was happening here. Like I felt like a really awkward movement for her to make to like run for like I couldn't envision her running for like the directions and the placement of where people were in this, like where she was in relation to Eddie. So I guess like what was happening was like she sees him, she's like, nah. And she like starts to leave and he's like, no, no, it's like whatever, fine. If you're gonna be a bitch, I'll go. And so like he starts to leave and then he hears her fall. Right? Like that's what happens.
Yeah, for me it was, yeah, I mean that's what happens, but for me it was just more like the act of this being the plot point, because I thought it was setting up a tragedy, and I when I got to that ending scene I just thought it was kind of like a cheap trick.
Felt a little flat.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was
It
one of my
I,
questions.
I didn't have a lot of strong feelings.
I did.
It felt like whoops. Like I mean like I don't know. I like my heart wasn't as broken as I feel like it should have been.
Well, they
Uh,
set up a heartbreak. So they set up these two people that decided they want to be together here. Just the first few pages before that, like Sophie was saying, where they say, "Oh, we love each other, but we can't have sex in this room."
but we still kind of hate them both.
Right, but then they still kind of hate each other too. And then like we get this tragedy of her accidentally falling off the boat and getting kind of mangled beyond recognition in the wheel well of the the big kind of riverboat that just has, you've probably seen these, like we don't really use them anymore with like engines and stuff that we have on boats, but like the big paddles, kind of ferry boats, like just a big
Yeah,
paddle
she
that churns in the water and moves the boat kind of thing.
yeah, they never recover her left hand.
But for me, it was kind of predictable. Like I saw it coming, maybe 20, 30 pages ahead. And then when it happened, I was just kind of like, I wasn't so sold on this being the best tragic like plot device here, but I think it did fall a little flat. And I guess Sophie agrees, so we're not going to get, I guess the discussion wouldn't be that
Yeah.
interesting,
I
but it's
mean, it
like,
was clear like she was gonna die or in some, whether literal or metaphorical manner get left behind, you know,
I
by one of her potential lovers.
Yeah, and I thought that it would be I don't know, I guess I thought this just because this is more my brain works. Like I thought it would be more like Age of Innocence style ending,
Hmm.
like that kind of tragedy where like they know they love each other, but like one person's just too afraid, so like they don't ever.
Yeah, no, that was my theory too. It could only end one of two ways. It was
Yeah,
either going to be Age of Innocence or House of Mirth.
yeah, but even House
It was
of
going to be
Mirth.
accidental death or unfulfilled love.
The thing
Uh,
was that like the difference is, yeah, like House of Mirth
except we
spent,
don't believe in the love
yeah,
because it's not really there. Um,
and we had
I d-
like 150 pages of House of Mirth leading up to that tragic scene of the accidental overdose. Um,
well, and it felt like a gradual, like, oh, we're descending into like this really dark space with this character. But like with Gloria, it felt like I don't know. I
I think
didn't
it
feel.
cheapened the tragedy. I
Yeah,
think.
well, it just felt like, oh, like I don't know. It felt like there weren't a lot of stakes
Yeah,
other than, life and death.
that's what I mean. This feels like kind of an impression of Wharton or Fitzgerald or something like that. Uh, because of the kind of, this was a big thing at this time with like how love stories or literary tragedies were ending. They were all ending that kind of way with massive death and people loving each other, not able to love each other because of dumb social reasons and or whatever else reason, right? So
Yeah.
there's that, and it just felt like I said, maybe it was the reputation that framed me, that made me want to expect more because of the reputation this book has accrued over the last 120 years or last 100 years. Um, that I was expecting to be kind of like engrossed and blown away, and I just wasn't. So maybe that's what's causing me to kind of be such
I
a
mean,
downer
you
about it.
also felt that way because it was set up for a tragedy that fell a little flat because the tragedy is still there. Like it's still
Yeah.
a sad situation. I just didn't feel invested
Yeah, of course.
in these characters. The character I think I felt them almost maybe more invested in, or I don't know. I think if it had been like, yeah, I don't know what, like maybe if I read it again, I'd feel differently, but I just didn't.
Yeah, but
I
you know
didn't.
what? You know what has that ending that like makes that I think works perfectly is the book Hope of Heaven that he wrote. Like that has the better ending, and it's the similar type thing along the lines of that yeah, like Age of Innocence or Gatsby style ending where there's this love, but then something happens and it just can't be, it can't be actualized, and that's the tragedy type thing. Like, and I think that's another reason why I say Hope of Heaven is his best book. But yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
well, and it pulls the rug out from under you too, because you're like, oh, you almost got there. Like
right,
you were
yeah,
rooting for them, and that's the thing. You're rooting for them. You're not fully rooting for these characters. Like you want to root for Gloria, but then she's gradually more of a bitch. Even though like you understand that it comes from somewhere dark, you're like, you're still kind of shitty.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and then it just goes on. I mean, like that's, you know, I think the sort of ending with Liggett is like, yeah, he goes to Eddie Brunner to get the coat, right?
right at the end.
And he's like, yeah, yeah, sure, take the fucking coat. I don't care. Like, whatever will save you from that terrible scandal you're so fucking afraid of.
Yeah. So my last couple of questions here as we wrap this up. Yeah, the ending was lackluster, not nearly as tragic as it could have been. Are we supposed to sympathize with Weston Leggett?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I would say no. And they don't make it more complicated with him as they would with as he did with Gloria. Then I said, yeah. Do we believe Gloria and Legett's kind of being in love?
No.
I would say I did. Like it's something. I think it was the most something that was there. But then
I
they,
think there was like this weird passionate exchange between them, and I think there was like something of like a desire and like a power play from either end. But I don't think either of them was actually in love. I think it was just better than their whatever they thought they had.
yeah, that's an interesting thing about too. So this idea of like the love versus desire, these two things that we think of as being intertwined, but they're not so intertwined necessarily.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was like it's the same thing with like, marriage and desire, right? Like, oh, like he was so attracted to his wife. She was so beautiful and wonderful. And somehow she was just like, now he looks at her and she is the plainest woman. Um, just,
Right.
um, and
Um,
yeah, e- every moment with Gloria was like, he just knew he needed to have her. Like, it's entirely sexual and that's it. And like every other kind of interaction they have seems pretty absent of love.
yeah. Other question, yeah. I guess we kind of already answered this. Does the ending work or fall short?
No.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we both said it falls short already.
I mean, there definitely needed to be another chapter after Gloria's death because of the way, like, it's just like, well, there's nothing I could do, and like, you still have the mink coat, and like, you need some kind of wrap up
Right.
because it's just not enough. Uh, and we get these characters, these minor characters from earlier. That's only like a page and a half chapter, and it's this Dr. Reddington who I think had some relationship to Gloria's family and had some awareness of this. His role was like confusing to me. Maybe I just sort of missed it or I glossed over. He had some kind of relationship to the major who had abused her. And we end with him.
Oh, is Reddington her uncle that takes care of her?
I thought that was Van Damme.
I guess it is, but I guess I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of got confused about who's who between Van Damme's, Reddington's, and the general. Uh,
Um, and then my last question is, we touched on this a little bit, but yeah, just to give it a once over. Prose style. What do you think of the prose style?
Fine. I had some problems with it in places. I mean, we already talked about it. It was like being clunky. Like it was fine to read. It wasn't like, oh, it's beautiful, which like not fucking everything has to be that. I'm not, that in itself is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
not Virginia Woolf. It was not
um,
Virginia Woolf style.
there were moments where I questioned how much I could really tell characters apart by their speech alone, which like, I actually don't I didn't feel terribly bothered by that, but there were places where I was like, ugh, like this abrupt switching POV was kind of like jarring for me at first, which might just be a me thing and not actually uh, a problem with the book. But yeah, I was overall like fine with it, I didn't have any problems with it other than maybe it was a little bit clunky. There were a couple moments where like you would have someone responding to two things at the same time, but you had to distinguish that that was happening. Like, I think it was with the Farleys, maybe, where someone called something from the kitchen and someone was like responding to that and also talking to Gloria in the same sentence. And it was like, oh, it was like hard to navigate. But like, yeah, I also like suck at reading. So.
Yeah, when I say the prose style is clunky, I don't mean that in the way that people use that to like describe pop novels. Like this isn't like a pop level of clunkiness. There's just little things that I'm surprised at for it being considered such a high regarded literary novel. So some of
I
the
mean,
clunky aspects of it.
it's not
Repetitive.
it can be repetitive, but like, yeah, I think the dialogue was mostly fun. I think it was mostly good dialogue, although I did get worn out. Like it started to feel a little bit like, okay, whatever,
Right.
halfway through. But that's just because I wasn't that invested. What do you think?
The prose style.
Yeah.
I mean, I already said, yeah. I wasn't as I guess, like I said, I think the reputation of this has maybe grown larger than the actual book in this case. Maybe I'm just not giving it its fair shake, but I mean, I did just read four of his novels, and I feel this way, so you know.
Butterfield 8 lays bare the unspoken and often shocking truths that lurked beneath the surface of a society still reeling from the effects of the Great Depression. The result is a masterpiece of American fiction, says the back of my copy. Yeah, I mean, I also think like maybe if you just look at this book as sort of a snapshot of this moment in time in this place, you
Yeah,
know, I
and
think
I
it's New York City, 1931.
and I think what I'm just realizing now too, his novel Hope of Heaven is was out of print until I think Library of America started reprinting it. So go figure, his best novel is let to fall out of print because the people in charge of that are stupid, but still. All right, I'm done with this. Are you anything else?
I'm fucking done with this.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on to the next book.
Moving on from Gloria Wanderous.
Wanderous. All right. Yeah. I guess I could do I'll do the spiel anyway, because we may paywall or unpaywall this. I don't know. If you want to contact us at heavyboardpodcast at gmail.com. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/heavyboard, to receive full uncensored episodes for subscribers. Check out our YouTube channels for more links to everything we covered, as well as the thing we're going to do next week in the description. And next episode, we are doing the Essential W.S. Merwin. Nice little book that Copper Canyon put out. It's quite large, but it's probably the best selected I've seen of Merwin. Nice little collection of his essential kind of collected. And the thing I like about it most is the way they have it organized by time period. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. We'll link it in the description there. This is a longer one, but I think it'll be a good discussion. About 300 pages of Merwin.
Maybe it will be a nice break.
From what?
Underwhelming fiction.
All right. This has been Heavy Board. My name's Andrew Whitstadt.
I'm bored.
And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Heavy.
Bored.
Heavy.
I am heavy
Bored.
I may say that the male is entirely hostile. No!
Resources.
Life, friends, is boring. We must not say so. Are you radioactive now?
Inner.
Resources. American resources.
Being bored?
Some activities are intentional, right?
It shows such a lack
Heavy.
of gratitude for life. Bored. I aspire to boredom,
Heavy.
I should say.
Bored. Heavy.
I am heavy
Bored.
Has you the night sweats and the day sweats, pal? Pal, I do.
If you're hearing this, it's because you are listening to the free public feed of Heavy Board. To get complete, uncensored, uninterrupted, full access to this podcast, become a subscriber at patreon.com/heavyboard. That's right, Heavy Board is made possible by subscribers like you. For less than 1 cup of coffee per month, you will receive private access to uncensored, full-length episodes, jerk shop, heavy bonus content, subscribers-only AMA episodes, bonus extended interviews, and more. Come join the conversation today at patreon.com/heavyboard.